Peter Parker, Earth 616. When you think of Spider-Man, you think of Peter Parker, the original webhead, the friendly neighborhood hero, and the unluckiest man in the Marvel Universe. Appearing in Amazing Fantasy issue number 15, Peter was just a nerdy high school kid when a radioactive spider decided to take a bite out of him, gifting him superhuman strength, agility, wall-crawling abilities, and the ever-useful Spidey sense. Unfortunately, it didn't come with a how-to guide. At first, Peter did what any teenager would do with superpowers, try to make some quick cash. But after letting a criminal go out of pure selfishness, he learned the hard way that with great power, there must also come great responsibility, when that same criminal murdered his Uncle Ben. From that moment on, he dedicated himself to protecting the people of New York, even if it meant balancing hero work with school, relationships, and an absurd amount of unpaid rent. But despite being Marvel's most relatable hero, Peter has some ridiculous feats under his belt. He's taken on the Hulk. Yes, that Hulk. Outmaneuvered speedsters like Quicksilver and even held his own against cosmic beings way out of his league. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 33, he once even lifted over 100 tons of rubble, proving sheer determination is one of his greatest superpowers. And when he had the Uni-Power, he became Captain Universe for a brief time, meaning he technically had godlike abilities. Not bad for a guy who still struggles to afford web fluid. And it's not just solo work. Peter has teamed up with nearly every major Marvel hero. He's an honorary member of the Fantastic Four, fought alongside the X-Men, and even was an Avenger. He battled through the Spider-Verse, led the Web Warriors, and survived Secret Wars, Clone Sagas, and way too many body swaps. But for all his power, Peter Parker remains the same awkward, self-depreciating, unlucky hero fans fell in love with. He's lost loved ones, faced impossible odds, and yet he never stopped swinging forward. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much the world knocks him down, he always gets back up. Miles Morales, Earth 1610. Peter Parker might be the original, but Miles Morales proves that the mask isn't about who wears it, it's about what they stand for. First introduced in Ultimate Fallout issue number 4, Miles was just a regular kid from Brooklyn, until a genetically enhanced spider, because apparently those things just wander around New York, bit him, granting him powers similar to Peter's. But Miles didn't jump into hero work right away. He saw Spider-Man as the hero, and didn't think he could live up to the name. Then came Peter Parker's death in the Ultimate Universe. It shook the world, and for Miles, it was a wake-up call. With great power came his responsibility now. He donned the black and red suit and stepped up as the new Spider-Man, carrying on Peter's legacy while making the role his own. But Miles isn't just a Peter Parker copy with a fresh coat of paint. His powers come with some serious upgrades. Alongside the standard wall crawling and enhanced agility, Miles has two major abilities Peter's wishes he had. The Venom Blast, which lets him unleash bioelectricity to stun enemies or fry tech, and active camouflage, allowing him to turn invisible. These give him a unique edge, especially when facing foes way outside his weight class, like when he knocked out Electro with a single Venom Blast, or took on Ultimatum, a multiversal version of Kingpin. And just like Peter, Miles doesn't fight alone. He's teamed up with the Champions, joined the Avengers, and fought alongside his mentor when the multiverse threw them together. When his world was destroyed during Secret Wars, he was one of the few survivors, merging into the main Marvel Universe because comics, and continuing his story alongside the original Spider-Man. But what truly sets Miles apart isn't just his powers, it's his heart. He's still a teenager trying to figure out life, juggling school, friendships, and hero work, but he brings a fresh perspective to what it means to be Spider-Man. Whether he's swinging through New York, saving the multiverse, or dropping a freestyle mid-battle, Miles Morales isn't just the next Spider-Man, he's his own Spider-Man. Spider-Gwen, Earth 65. In another universe, the radioactive spider didn't bite Peter Parker, it bit Gwen Stacy. And in Earth 65, that single twist changed everything. First appearing in Edge of Spider-Verse issue number 2, Gwen Stacy became her world Spider-Woman, rocking a white and pink hooded suit that instantly made her one of the most stylish spider heroes out there. Unlike the Gwen Stacy most people know, the one who met a tragic end at the hands of the Green Goblin, this Gwen is the one swinging through the city, saving lives and cracking jokes mid-battle. Her journey, though, hasn't been any easier than Peter's. In fact, it's arguably even rougher. In her world, Peter Parker idolized Spider-Woman, but after being bullied, experimented on himself and transformed into the Lizard. When Gwen tried to stop him, it ended in tragedy. Peter died, and Spider-Woman was blamed for his death. This turned her into a fugitive, constantly hunted by the police, including her own father, Captain George Stacy. But even with the world against her, Gwen never gives up. She keeps fighting, proving that being a hero isn't about having an easy life. It's about doing the right thing no matter what. Eventually, her father learns the truth and supports her, but the challenges never stop. At one point, she even loses her powers and makes a desperate deal with Matt Murdock, who, in her universe, isn't a hero, but the kingpin of crime. Because of this, she now has to rely on a special serum to keep fighting. Her skills as Spider-Woman are top tier, rivaling Peter's in agility and combat ability. And while she doesn't have a venom blast like Miles, she does have an incredible sense of rhythm. Literally, Gwen's also the drummer for the Mary Janes, an all-girl rock band where, yes, Mary Jane Watson is the lead singer. When she's not fighting crime, she's playing gigs, proving that being a superhero doesn't mean you can't have a little fun. Across the multiverse, Spider-Gwen has become one of the most recognizable and beloved versions of the character. Whether teaming up with Peter and Miles in Into the Spider-Verse, taking on the Inheritors during Spider-Verse, or just being a badass in her own right, Gwen Stacy has made one thing clear. She's not just some alternate version of a tragic love story. She's the main event, and she plays her song loud enough for the whole multiverse to hear. Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, Earth 928. If Peter Parker is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, Miguel O'Hara is the corporate nightmare Spider-Man. First appearing in Spider-Man 2099 issue number 1, Miguel wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider. His DNA was forcibly rewritten in a failed experiment, splicing him with spider genetics and giving him abilities that make even Peter jealous. But instead of swinging through a classic New York skyline, Miguel operates in a dystopian future run by mega corporations where heroes are a thing of the past and corruption runs the show. Unlike Peter, Miguel wasn't some struggling teenager. He was a brilliant geneticist working for Alchemax, one of the most powerful and unethical corporations in the world. When he tried to quit after realizing just how corrupt his employers were, his boss, Tyler Stone, tricked him into taking an addictive drug that only Alchemax could provide. Desperate to fix his altered DNA and break free from the company's grip, Miguel accidentally fused a genetic structure with that of a spider, giving him superhuman strength, agility, enhanced senses, and, most notably, actual fangs and claws. That's right, this Spider-Man bites. And unlike Peter's polite little web shooters, Miguel's webs come out of his arms. Yeah, he doesn't have to refill cartridges. He generates organic webbing on demand. As Spider-Man 2099, Miguel is less of a wisecracking jokester and more of a relentless force of nature. His combat skills rival some of the best fighters in Marvel, and he's gone toe-to-toe with cybernetic assassins, future versions of classic villains, and even other Spider-Men. During Spider-Verse, he fought alongside Peter Parker and Miles Morales against the Inheritors, a race of powerful vampiric beings, proving he's just as vital to the web of life as any other web crawler. And in Across the Spider-Verse, he's taken a leadership role in maintaining the stability of the multiverse, showing that sometimes being a hero means making the hard calls. Miguel O'Hara isn't just Spider-Man for the future, he is the future. And if you think messing with the timeline's a good idea, just know, this Spider-Man doesn't do second chances. Ben Reilly, aka the Scarlet Spider, Earth 616. Imagine waking up one day and being told, hey, everything you remember? Yeah, that's not actually your life. That's the nightmare Ben Reilly had to deal with. First introduced in the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 149, Ben was created as a perfect clone of Peter Parker by the villainous Jackal. At first, he believed he was the real Peter Parker, only to discover that he was just a copy. So, just like any other self-respecting clone in an identity crisis, he packed up, left New York, and spent years on the road trying to find his own purpose. Eventually, Ben returned and took up the mantle of Scarlet Spider, rocking a blue hoodie over a red suit that somehow became one of the most iconic Spider-Man designs ever. And while he had all of Peter's abilities such as super strength, agility, wall crawling, and spidey sense, he also had his own style. He made his own web shooters which fired impact webbing, more versatile and way more brutal version of Peter's webs. He even modified his stingers, making them lethal enough to take out some of Spidey's deadliest foes. During the Clone Saga, Ben's life got even more complicated when it was suggested that he was the original Peter Parker all along, forcing the real Peter to step aside. And for a while, Ben actually became Spider-Man, rocking a new suit and protecting New York in Peter's absence. Of course, comics being comics, it was later revealed that nope, he was the clone, and in classic tragic fashion, he sacrificed himself to save Peter, crumbling into dust as clones tend to do. But Ben never stayed dead for long. Over the years, he's been resurrected multiple times, sometimes as a hero, sometimes as a villain. He even took up the name Chasm, wielding dark magic and battling Peter in one of the most twisted turns yet. At the end of the day, Ben Reilly is more than just a clone. He's a man who's constantly fighting to prove that he has his own identity. And whether he's Scarlet Spider, Spider-Man, or something else entirely, one thing's for sure, he'll always live up to the Parker name, even if his life is an absolute mess. Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, Earth 616. Before Peter Parker ever put on the red and blue, there was Jessica Drew. First introduced in Marvel Spotlight issue number 32, Jessica didn't get her powers from a radioactive spider bite. She got them from a scientific experiment gone horribly wrong. As a child, she was poisoned by uranium exposure, and her father, a geneticist, injected her with an experimental serum made from spider DNA to save her life. Then, just to make things weirder, she was placed in stasis for years, aging slowly while her body adapted. The result? When she finally woke up, she had superhuman abilities, and a whole lot of questions about who she really was. Jessica has all the classic Spider-Man powers: super strength, agility, wall crawling, but with some major upgrades. She can fly, or at least glide, shoot bioelectric venom blasts that can take down enemies in a single hit, and she even has pheromones that can influence people's emotions. So yeah, she's got a little extra edge compared to your average web-slinger. But her life? Messy doesn't even begin to describe it. She was brainwashed by Hydra, manipulated into being an assassin, and spent years not even knowing who she could trust. Eventually, she broke free and became a hero working with S.H.I.E.L.D., the Avengers, and even the Spider-Verse crew. She fought alongside and sometimes against Peter Parker, taken on Skrull imposters during Secret Invasion, and even helped to lead a rebellion against an entire alien empire. Oh, and did I mention she did all of this while being pregnant? Yeah, Jessica balanced superhero life and single motherhood, which says a lot about how tough she is. Jessica Drew may not be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Woman, but when it comes to power, skill, and resilience, she can go toe-to-toe with any hero out there. Cindy Moon, aka Silk, Earth 616. You know the story: radioactive spider bites a teenager, gives them incredible powers, and changes their life forever. But what if that spider bit someone else too? Enter Cindy Moon, aka Silk, first introduced in 2014's The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 1. On the same day that Peter Parker was bitten, that very same spider latched onto Cindy seconds later, giving her nearly identical powers. But her journey was completely different. Unlike Peter, Cindy didn't get to swing around New York cracking jokes. Instead, she was locked away in a secret bunker for 10 years. Why? Because her powers made her the prime target of Morlun and the Inheritors, a race of multiversal vampires that eat spider-powered heroes. To keep her safe, Ezekiel Sims, the same guy who once mentored Peter, hid her from the world. But after a decade in isolation, Cindy finally broke free, re-entering the world that had completely moved on without her. Her family vanished. Her old life gone. The only person who really understood what she was going through? Peter Parker himself. As Silk, Cindy has all the classic Spider-Man powers: super strength, agility, web-slinging, but she's faster, has an enhanced Spidey sense or Silk sense that makes Peter's look slow, and can spin organic webs straight from her fingertips. Yeah, no web cartridges needed. Since her escape, she became a hero in her own right, working with the Avengers, Spider Army, and even infiltrating Black Cat's criminal empire as a double agent. She's battled everyone from Hydra to multiversal hunters and still manages to juggle her day job as a journalist because apparently all spider heroes need to have a thing for newspapers. Cindy may have spent years locked away, but now that she's free, nothing's gonna trap her again. Mayday Parker, aka Spider-Girl Earth 928. In most universes, Peter Parker's story is one of tragedy, but in MC2, his greatest legacy isn't just being a hero, it's being a father. Meet Mayday Parker, the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson. Introduced in What If issue number 105 and later starring in Spider-Girl, May is what happens when Spider-Man finally gets his happy ending. But sort of. In his reality, Peter eventually retires from crime fighting after losing a leg in battle. He settles down with MJ and focuses on family life, but as we all know, the Parker look never really takes a break. As a teenager, May discovers she's inherited her father's powers, from super strength and agility to wall crawling and an enhanced spidey sense. But where Peter had to figure things out the hard way, May got something he never did: a living mentor. At first, her parents try to keep her away from the superhero life, but come on, she's a Parker. Like father, like daughter, there was no way she was staying on the sidelines. Suiting up as Spider-Girl, May carves out her own legacy, fighting villains like Normie Osborn, yes, the grandson of that Osborn, Dr. Octopus, and an all-new Venom. She's got all the classic spider powers, but what really sets her apart is her determination. Even with the weight of her father's legacy, she doesn't just try to live up to it, she makes it her own. Mayday became so beloved that her comic Spider-Girl holds the record as the longest-running female-led Marvel book at the time. And while her universe has its ups and downs, she's proven time and time again that she's more than just Peter's daughter. She's a hero in her own right. Peter Parker may be the original, but when it comes to keeping the Spider legacy alive, Mayday's future is looking spectacular.